Okay, now it's your turn to speak. You say it. Go on.
What
you
to say?
it. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello. Ilinka asked me to say hello to the ladies and gentlemen.
A very warm welcome to all of you on our beautiful television program. So we are Theo and Ilinka.
Vice versa.
And Ilinka and Theo.
And we have a major advantage. Here on our program, if we truly set our minds to it, we always bring in our very best personal friends.
What is it
The
that we're supposed to
program.
do?
The thing is,
Yes,
by a
that's exactly
remarkable
what I mean.
coincidence, by pure chance, by destiny itself, that these wonderful friends of ours are also extraordinarily valuable individuals who have consistently demonstrated both their exceptional human qualities and their professional excellence throughout all these years.
Tell me who you surround yourself with, and I'll tell you who you are.
I'm joined by Dr. Ovidiu Penej, a specialist in geriatrics and gerontology. Back in my day, you were a doctor of medical sciences.
I am also a lecturer now.
Welcome, a very warm welcome to you, Doctor. Now with Theo, I imagine things are quite familiar, considering all the memories you shared together.
Much too late.
We are so incredibly pleased that you've joined us here on the show today and that we can finally discuss this very important topic that truly concerns all of us, youth without old age.
Youth without old age. This is what Ovidiu is dedicated to. That's where he's made a strong impact in recent years, and I want to share with you some absolutely outstanding results. In his clinic, a variety of treatments are offered, which we would gladly recommend to you, but we can't recommend anything unless he informs us. Ovidiu, does this youth without old age truly exist?
It exists. You'll notice that all the research of the most recent years and the most recent decades has been centered on this area. The most influential people in the world, I'm sure you've observed that despite having immense power, possessing absolutely everything, they still primarily desire health and longevity. Yes, we won't be mentioning any specific names at this moment. It's quite widely known. Indeed, they've gathered at various international summits and openly declared, but what exactly are we to do? We desperately wish to live much, much longer.
But even with Putin, we don't name names. They
don't
were
say names.
talking about some things. Was it just talk or were things happening?
Things are happening because the medical research in this field has been overstimulated. You'll see that it's very modern now. Everyone offers such services with or without competence per app, so be very careful who you choose because you might end up with experimental procedures. But there are scientifically proven facts because aging is a degenerative process. Yes, we've socially become accustomed to accepting it as natural, but it isn't. We begin to accumulate all kinds of cellular damage, progressively more advanced, which collectively form this acceptance, old age. I can't make it up the stairs anymore. I'm tired. I'm starting to lose my mind.
Everything is falling apart for me. You say it's not normal.
Well, it's not normal for us to have degenerative phenomena.
We say it's old age.
So the entire medical concept and paradigm needs to be changed. And this is precisely how the phenomenon of age management in medicine emerged, a true medical spearhead, the concept of rejuvenation, the management of aging. Why should I diminish myself? Why should I live only, 63.5 years when I, the very same person, by simply doing some things that are sometimes very easy to implement, because not all of them are complex, right? I could easily live to 73 or even extend my life from 73 to 83 to add a full decade, 10 more years, and crucially, 10 years of high quality life, not just to suffer through another 10 years of hardship.
Both for me and for everyone around me.
Both me
what
and those
exactly are
around
these
me.
things? Because right now we're discovering the very secret of life here.
Well, if that's what you're looking for, simple solutions. Many of them you knew, but you don't apply them. Many simple things so the phenomenon of aging is a cellular level process that causes the accumulation of toxins within cells. These toxins in turn degrade the cellular genetic code, and the cell then becomes non-functional, very briefly and very simplified. 2, our hormones are no longer the same. A 20-year-old girl doesn't transform overnight into a 90-year-old woman.
Clear.
Including all the aesthetic and functional modifications. The man also undergoes similar changes. So these are hormonal changes. And then there is oxidative and nitrosative stress. Our own metabolism, like a burning flame, consumes the candle of our life and slowly uses up all of its wax.
And sometimes the wax of the candle smothers the flame.
And it smothers the flame completely. So the flame, the very flame of our lives, the candle's wax, it melts away and is slowly consumed. And if I want to engage in speaking somewhat foolishly, anti-aging and age management, it means bringing more wax to the base of that flame to keep it burning brightly and strongly for as long as humanly possible.
Tell me 3 simple things we can do.
It's about simple things. You must hydrate yourself. Just drink plenty of water. Water is very inexpensive. It's a truly affordable anti-aging mechanism that absolutely everyone can do.
And if you take a moment to observe, we've all completely forgotten to properly hydrate
we just
ourselves.
don't like it.
We do drink
Many
it, of
people
course.
say,
Or perhaps we simply don't enjoy the taste. That's right.
It's still water. Yes, plain water. Our cells. You see a child, a baby, has 70% water in its cells, and that shriveled old man has less than 50. right? So the difference is in the cellular composition and in the structure. And then dehydration, which certainly depends on other factors as well. We should consume certain things. Don't introduce toxins anymore. That's a very simple thing that you can do.
What
right?
are we not supposed
Toxins.
to introduce, said Boss? So where do we get toxin-free ones?
Alcohol is a toxin that your cells must metabolize. Cut it out or avoid it as much as possible because it's harmful. Smoking. Yes, you surely knew this, but if you truly consider their direct impact on your longevity and your health, you suddenly change your entire perspective.
Well, yeah, and now the saying comes to mind, man, I had to die from something.
Yeah.
The sum of vices is constant.
Absolutely. The total vices are constant.
Less detrimental,
But you
yes.
can have some that are good for your health. I don't know when this show airs, but there are things you can do that have both a cardio and a sports effect.
We understand what it's about.
With family, with with your partner, male or female, and these are very good because they regulate your hormonal system, they activate your cellular metabolism.
It has to activate him too, not just me.
It regulates your neurohormones and neuromediators. You see, because this is also important. Serotonin, those hormones of happiness, yes, they are extremely important for how your cardiovascular system will feel, for example, or even your neurons. The more we manage to reduce our stress, and the stress, its overall impact. How does a piece of news impact you when it concerns a certain situation? Yes, that's something you really need to work on. Make sure you get a little bit of movement. Another thing, I've only told you about things that won't cost you anything at all, and they are guaranteed anti-aging. Movement. You don't necessarily need to have a membership at some really sophisticated and expensive gym, but you absolutely can every single morning wake up and fully activate your entire muscle mass. Just 2 or 3 simple squats, 2 or 3 lunges, and 2 or 3 push-ups. Just 10 to 15 minutes of light physical activity and some gentle stretching exercises. Yes, it's also very important for joints and for blood vessels. You'll see it makes a quality difference.
But what are we supposed to eat? They say we're not allowed to drink, not allowed to smoke. We have to keep moving. So what do we eat then?
Because I believe diet's vital.
What we eat. Now, once more, we as Romanians are quite accustomed to consuming very large amounts of food, to having truly copious meals. The more substantial the meal is, again, I'm teaching you something that costs nothing. On the contrary, it will reduce your expenses. So here's something truly essential. Stop consuming those large copious meals. Halve the quantities or ultimately reduce them gradually. Well, you don't feel satisfied because you're eating food packed with E-numbers, full of additives, with artificial stimulation, with intense flavors, and loaded with sugar. Sugar is yet another component that absolutely needs to be cut back. It needs to disappear completely. The more glucose you have in your bloodstream, the more sweet sugar you have in your blood, the more your structural proteins, those of your cells, the very cellular structures themselves, they become sweetened, they become glycated, and you reduce their longevity. So, the less sugar you have in your diet and fewer sweet things you eat, the more you statistically increase your longevity. Another mechanism. Let's go back to food. Eat less. Gradually reduce your portions, 10% over 2 or 3 months, and so on. You don't even have to be clinically overweight to experience the full inflammatory risk associated with body fat. The more body fat you accumulate, the greater the inflammation within your system. This low-grade chronic inflammation becomes increasingly significant, and this constant, persistent inflammation acts as another mechanism for oxidative stress, which ultimately leads to a reduction in cellular longevity and the promotion of various diseases.
What am I eating? Fried sausage, fried fries?
Don't eat fried foods, avoid saturated fats, but instead consume lots of vegetables, as many salads as you can, and a wide range of diverse plant-based foods. And pay attention if you can reduce the amount by half to get the same price and eat as organically as possible, meaning as natural as possible, from a known source, from someone who doesn't add antibiotics and hormones to the meat you eat in moderate quantities. So reduce your quantities and eat higher quality foods.
So then this low-carb diet, intermittent fasting, and the Mediterranean diet, they all fall into this.
One more thing, and I'll answer your question directly, but first an introduction. We are unique individuals genetically, so we have a genetic map, and each of us responds differently. That's why intermittent fasting won't suit everyone.
But for those it's truly a good fit for, is it good?
It depends on how you do it, because intermittent fasting is a trend that's been adopted very poorly. So intermittent fasting could lead to increased cortisol due to prolonged hunger. So you need to adapt it to your own metabolism. And you can do, I've mentioned this on a few shows, a carb-only fast. So la point about what I mean is that you shouldn't consume carbohydrates for a specific number of days, but you must not completely deprive your body, I don't know, for 3 full days of any food at all, because most probably you will then find yourself in a group of individuals who won't truly benefit or who will actually face more disadvantages than advantages from undertaking this specific action. With low carb, it's the same thing. It either shoots you or it doesn't shoot you. That's why it's also important to know if it's a good fit and for how many hours or how many days, or what you need to be doing and what to alternate with, because you must restart.
It's a matter.
So don't ever go applying things that you've read on Instagram or, I don't know, anywhere on the internet without having them prescribed to you by a truly competent specialist, because we also have an entire range of pseudo-specialists out there, but rather by a specialist who genuinely knows their subject matter and understands the individual organism, who will personalize it specifically for you based on your unique genetic map, based on your specific metabolic markers, and based on what we are aiming to achieve from that particular body, from that specific patient. What is the strategy for the future? Because we don't want to do it abruptly and finish it. There's a whole series of substances. Some even applied them and they were models, right? To get in shape for an underwear presentation. They were small doses of cockroach poison that worked by blocking the metabolism at certain points, because that's how we practically killed the animal pests.
It was a bad example.
It was a negative example.
Don't do this.
Absolutely. So you can do that, yes. So you can find a whole range of things that can produce results, some perhaps very quick, and you'll be happy to use them, but later you'll realize, so be very careful with all the things circulating in the media.
What are the essential vitamins and minerals for the body, for an organism? I know you'll say it varies from person to person, that we are unique, but generally, which are the most important ones we should all have daily to enjoy longevity?
The best vitamins are those that are the most bioavailable. The most bioavailable are those that we obtain naturally from a very varied and balanced diet.
From you, I learned that B12 is not bioavailable.
For example.
And you're confusing it.
Or two. A prescription based on lab results. First, you need to find out through specific tests what you're missing, because sometimes you might have an excess, other times you might have a deficiency. And if you have these, you can take certain things. For example, a small amount of vitamin C daily generally hasn't hurt anyone. So,
But you told me that you can take any amount of vitamin C. You can take 1,000,
Exactly.
for example, at one time, that the body knows
if
how
I
much
take
I
them
need.
orally,
Yes.
but then again, if I exceed certain quantities that my body can tolerate, I might experience complications, including renal ones, because my poor kidneys will have to mediate all the excesses that I have created, or even at the level of the intestinal microflora. Our flora, the intestinal microbiome, which also plays, mind you, an extremely important role in overall body health and longevity, yes, it will be completely thrown off balance due to excess. And these global multivitamins that are widely available and people just take them like that, they are simply not indicated. Each one must be prescribed individually. This is part of the age management prescription, and specific analyses are performed for the patient and certain things are recommended, some even through intravenous infusion. But I'm going to come back to that. I've seen a whole range of these all around the world, including bars where you just walk in and order. I want a vitamin cocktail.
It's very nice. The only problem is it's totally wrong.
But this resveratrol and what exactly
back
do
in
they
fashion.
do? We keep hearing about them.
You see, I've said it once before. Last year, they were asking me about a substance that I won't name again now, and we won't even say its commercial name, but which launched in such a way and made a business of several billion.
Weight loss.
Hundreds of billions for weight loss. It's injected. It can also be introduced into the nose. I've seen transdermal too, finally, but generally injectables and prescription-based or over-the-counter. Billions of people have used them. The business grew a lot, and look, only now, after more than a year, they've started to notice how many terrible things. that the pancreas, the brain, the heart muscle, but actually, wait a minute, it's not quite like that, and that the prescription should have been strictly limited only to patients with morbid obesity, those who truly couldn't control it otherwise through a proper lifestyle, correct nutrition, and regular exercise. Yes, and even those patients were eventually forced into it. Only those balancing the risk of their morbid obesity against the molecule's risk. You choose what's best for the patient. So be very careful with everything that comes out, because I don't want to badmouth any specific molecule, as they all have indications for certain people and contraindications for others. Anything that benefits you personally could potentially cause extreme harm to your child, your husband, or your brother, even if genetically you are very similar. This is because you are unique individuals from a genetic perspective, and your specific genetic makeup has interacted with a completely different environment. We've worked in different ways, engaged in different sports, slept for different durations, and consumed different foods.
In our turn, we have a genetic heritage.
And we, in our turn, also have a genetic inheritance. So I cannot say that anything is simply good or bad, because as Theo mentioned earlier, even an incorrectly calculated vitamin C can actually cause you harm.
All right, now we're discussing all these therapies. You're still focused on food. I've moved past that. I want to get into hormone therapies, these kinds of treatments. We should really do them. They are beneficial for everyone.
Exactly. So if we've gone overboard with food, when it comes to eating, we need to stick to our limits, reduce the quantities, increase the quality, and eat as varied as possible. Don't overdo red meat. We're shifting our focus towards fish, salads, and vegetables. We need to have as much variety as possible. You also mentioned something about resveratrol. Try to get as much color as you can into the fruits and the foods that you're eating, a wide variety of colors. Choose them as intensely colored as possible, as bright red, as purple, as vibrant as you can. The more intensely colored the fruit, the more antioxidants it contains, which is beneficial at some point in your aging process or for anti-aging protection. Therapies, treatments, all personalized, prescribed according to the patient's needs. And he asked, of course, the menopause is about our natural aging process. That the menopause not just moving from 20 years to 30, then from 30 to 40, and from 40 years onward. There are some degradations occurring. Certain glands are no longer as youthful, and they don't secrete in that same area the hormones that would protect us, that would regenerate us. Look at the pituitary gland, look at the thyroid gland, the adrenal glands, the ovaries, the testicles. They all begin to function within statistically accepted limits, but not in the optimal zone. And this is where the concept of optimal health was truly born. We want to be healthy, not to call for help and be told, just wait, we don't have an ambulance to send you. What more could you possibly want at 98 years old? So we expect to have the same quality of life, the same life expectancy, and the same aspirations for living, no matter what our age. This means that the statistically accepted notion of health for a specific age must move beyond our current medical concept. We should aim for our patient, regardless of their chronological age on their ID, to have a biological age that is as low as possible, and a psychological age that is also as low as possible. And I need to put myself in that person's shoes. I am 40 years old now. Tomorrow I will be 41. Is there any difference in my perception of myself from 40 versus 41, or je sais pas, ça m'a échappé, or 51 and Shaki and so on? There shouldn't be. I should still have the same expectation to do the things I used to do when I was 20.
Okay, so then what do these hormone therapies do?
What is it that they do? If they are carried out correctly, and here once again there must be a very well-trained specialist, it needs to modulate so that hormones that are currently in excess and causing detrimental effects begin to return to their optimal range, to decrease, while those that were beneficial and actively promoting regeneration should increase to the optimal zone, that 80, 90, 100%, not for us to be stuck at 20%, which was still considered normal. Yes. And the ratio of these hormones should reach the optimal zone, and furthermore, these hormones should be natural, bioidentical, meaning our body shouldn't differentiate between mine and those.
Where are we going to buy them?
These are also made with very personalized prescriptions. There are certain very specialized pharmacies in this world. Some of them, a few of them, have this talent to create bioidentical formulas, and which, once again, are microdosages, meaning extremely tiny areas, which form a perfect synergy between what the body naturally produces and what is introduced from the outside in order to achieve the optimal zone. And then they should also take into account one more thing, the way they are absorbed, the way they enter the body system. And this involves a very advanced technology. One might be absorbed in just 1 minute, another in 8 hours, and so on. And secondly, they need to anticipate the body's response, because the new self that emerges as a result of a month-long treatment is a completely different outcome. And the body itself changes constantly from one day to the next, from morning until evening, and from 1 month to another. And therapy must be perfectly adjusted, personalized for these changes. Of course, you also
see these changes,
you
meaning
also see
they're
these
not just showing
changes.
up in
It's not
tests.
just about lab results. You don't go to an age management program just to improve some printouts from analysis, because we can just generate those on a computer and print them. No, you want to feel like you're 20 years old. You want to begin to observe that the activities you once engaged in or that once brought you enjoyment are starting to bring you pleasure once more.
Tell me why this wasn't done for me. Okay.
Come, I'll do it.
We're also interested, but are there really, some analyses that can show me what my biological aging level is?
Yes, there are a great many analyses, including genetic ones, and we can even measure the length of telomeres. If you've heard of them, telomeres are like the plastic tips on shoelaces, those little plastic cups. At the end of the genetic code, there is a message written there. The Demiurge wrote it this way, and it says, the shorter that word is, the shorter that specific part is, and the less time you have left to live. At the moment of birth, those telomeres are extremely long. And if you were to go and measure them, yes, you can measure them, and then you would see. The good part about this is that once you know, oh, they are very short, I can't approach them, it's not good, but through age management techniques, you have the possibility to at least maintain them at the same length, if not to lengthen them. But you can also lengthen them through all the mechanisms that you implement, because telomeres are not inert objects, they are things in a constant state of dynamic. And they also have telomerase enzymes that meticulously construct their length brick by brick, and if you reactivate them.
Hold on, both of you, because this telomere topic is a wonderful subject that we absolutely must discuss.
I want to talk about telomeres, but after we go and get them analyzed, to see them, I want to see yours.
Don't tell me, Ovidiu will tell me. Why not one?
I believe we have some truly extraordinary news today. Look how simply we can live for a long time.
To show off, I'm friends with Associate Professor Dr. Ovidiu Peneș, a PhD in medical sciences, and we're so close, we pull each other's telomeres and shoelaces.
We look forward to welcoming you warmly again. Thank you.